Happy Saturday, and thank you for joining me for Profiles with Paulette Payne. Well, as you know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and here at Profiles, we have decided to bring you stories of survival. But they're not just stories of survival. They're stories of faith, determination, courage, and resilience. And tonight's story is no different. But before I introduce you to my guest, just want to let you know if you have questions or comments throughout the interview, please feel free to leave them below and we'll get to them as soon as possible. And if you find value in tonight's content, please like the page and share it on your social platforms. Because the goal of Profiles has always been to create programming that informs, inspires, and empowers. And I hope this is your experience tonight. And now for tonight's story. My guest has had to do what no parent should ever have to do. Tragedy struck for a second time, and she came face to face with her own mortality. And during the height of her career, she had to put life on hold in order to fight a disease that, according to breastcancer.org, will affect more than 270,000 women this year alone. Tonight, LaShawn Brown, founder and CEO of Cheesecaked, joins me to talk about the sweet life, cancer-free, and living on purpose. LaShawn, thank you so much for joining me tonight. How are you?
So much for having me.
It is a pleasure. It is a pleasure. LaShawn, I always like to give the audience the backstory, because we talk a lot and we see on social media the frills, the bells and whistles of all the work that we do, but we don't necessarily know the backstory and what that person has had to endure and overcome. So I want to start from the beginning. And let me just tell the viewers, for this show, I use social media to glean experiences of other people that I find intriguing. And I know that somebody out there would find it intriguing. And so I was on Instagram actually, and I was on LaShawn's page, her business page, and I came across this post that just struck me. It struck me to my core, and I knew this was a story that I needed to share with you. And so LaShawn talked about a car accident she had. She talked about her son, who she'll talk to us now a little bit more in detail about. And so I hope you find inspiration, not only in the backstory, but in the front story, if you will. So LaShawn, talk to us a little bit about your baby boy.
Well, I was very excited. I didn't know I was having a boy at the time. I was very, very young. I'm probably, younger than, looking back, 20, I probably had some more time. And it was such a joy. The part is that the little boy didn't want to come out, right? I got past my due date 2 weeks, and they said, if he doesn't come by this date, ma'am, you're going to have to check yourself into the hospital for induced labor. And so I wonder sometimes, did he know that he would be better in my belly than on earth? Because 2 months later, he passed, from the accident. So I can only cherish the time that we had together and appreciate the time that he grew, that I was able to, produce such a healthy baby and be able to share this story and pay homage to him, because a lot of it everything started actually with me paying homage to him and trying to find my joy again.
Wow. There are so many people in general, and women specifically, who are dealing with loss on a different level right now. With everything that's going on in the world, losing someone in this climate, in this environment I can't even imagine. But I'm sure it was still even more tragic for you during that time. And being a young mother and having to understand those emotions and adapt in a way, because life had to move forward, but holding on to the memory and again, like you said, his legacy and the legacy
right.
left for you.
And I think it was probably really, really honestly more difficult for my family to go through, because I was unconscious for a long time. I had no idea what was going on. And so they got the calls that your grandson is dead and Sean is they took us to all different hospitals. So my family had to come to grips of, well, which hospital do I go to? Do I go to see Jacory where he's pronounced dead already? Or do I go to see Sean where they're still trying to save her life? So my family really endured a lot at that time because I didn't see myself. I didn't know what was going on. And they wouldn't tell me for a long time that he had passed. And my mouth was wired, so I couldn't talk. And I had no idea what was wrong with me. I just kept wanting to know, well, where's my son? What's going on? And they, of course, from the instructions of the doctor, were told not to tell me because they didn't want me to give up on living.
Right.
But eventually they called and said, listen, you've got to go ahead and tell her because she's, reaching for people and, becoming aggressively wanting to know where her child is. And I believe I do. I didn't have an out-of-body experience. I didn't see the light. I mean, I wish I had seen Jesus and all of that great stuff. But when they did tell me, I did feel a calming, kind of like I knew in my spirit. And when they told me, it was confirmation. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what happened to me. I can't tell you what it looked like, but I felt it in my soul when they did tell me that he passed, like I knew.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about the accident. You mentioned an accident. So that came first, apparently,
yes.
Of course,
yeah.
and then his passing. Talk to us a little bit about that evening or that day.
So it was a great, cold, rainy Sunday. Mm-hmm. It was my older sister and I. We went to my Aunt Terry's house to watch movies and eat cookies and just visit with the baby. I was a new mom, so I wanted to show them off to everybody. So we were just there taking pictures. And I'm going to preface this by saying that this story is going to age me tremendously. I may look young, but when I say some stuff in this story, you're going to say, oh, yeah, she's old. She's old. So my sister said, well, I need to go return some movies.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the first indication that, I'm old. So we left to go return movies at Blockbuster. And then my mom paged me on a pager. And I stopped at a payphone. Now tell me where a payphone is. Yeah, I know. And so I called her and she said, oh, I just wanted to, I didn't want anything. Just call me when you get home. And I said, okay. And the next call she got was that I was being rushed to the hospital and Jacory had passed away. So my sister was driving. We were in a Toyota Tercel and we were so close to my house, literally. And the guy was in a big old school van, like those tradesman vans that have the couches in the back where you can, chill, but made of steel. And we were in a Toyota Tercel. So he was twice the legal limit. He had come to an intersection and the railroad arms were down, indicating that a train was coming. So instead of him waiting for the train, he drove against traffic, going on the wrong side of the street, trying to make it to the next intersection to beat the train. And they said that he hit us going about 60 miles per hour. And so my sister, she said that I screamed and she slowed down, but it wasn't enough to get from out of his way. But he hit us so hard, everything in our trunk flew out the back. Mm-hmm. And so from there, I crushed my bottom jaw, the roof of my mouth split down the middle. My tongue was cut up. I had a skull fracture from the base of my skull to my forehead, broke my leg because I braced myself. But what's funny, Paulette, is that they said if I had had my seatbelt on, I would have been decapitated. That's how hard he hit us. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because in that time, the Tercels were the automatic shoulder belt, but they weren't the lap belt. And I was 20 and defiant and thought I could do anything. So I'm sure I probably wouldn't have had the lap belt on, but I may have had the shoulder belt. And they said that with the impact, he would have decapitated me. So my sister, she was conscious, The steering wheel helped save a lot of her injuries, but she did have a really bad scar from temple to temple. But now she also hears that a train is coming. So everyone, I'm unconscious. I'm laying in between the stick and the radio in the console. And she went to get my son out the car seat and give him to someone that stopped by to help. And then she lifted me up, not knowing my injuries. And when she lifted me up, I suffocated off my own blood from all of the injuries in my mouth. So I died there on the scene. And so that's when they gave me the trach, and they got me back, obviously, got me back. So then they had to make a decision of where to send everyone. They took all three of us to 3 different hospitals. So they took my son to Daniel Freeman, which was really close to the accident, but they didn't have a trauma center to help me. And they told me that they got his heartbeat back, but he started hemorrhaging from his ears, and then he passed away. And after reading the autopsy, they told me if he had lived, he would have only been able to move his shoulder. He would have been paralyzed from the neck down from the car seat straps.
Wow.
And the impact.
LaShawn, I mean, my goodness. So as life has unfolded for you over the years, did you suffer from any post-traumatic stress, anything like that, any anxiety? Did any of that play a role in your healing, if you will, from this experience?
Well, I would probably say that my current children probably feel I have some anxiety because I'm a little nervous and always kind of a little bit more antsy. And I hate that I always think if I can't reach someone on the phone or something's going on, that they're dead or in an accident. I hate that that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And my kids always remind me, like, Mom, we're not always in a ditch somewhere. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm just nervous. But as far as like driving and stuff like that, I probably will never get in a small Toyota Tercel again. And you know what? I think I was blessed though, because I don't remember a lot. I have to reference my family and ask them a lot of questions I don't remember.
Yeah. You know, I can totally relate with you or to you about this whole thing around if you can't reach someone, apparently they have fallen off the Golden State Bridge, you know. But when you lose someone tragically, it's almost natural, and this is just my perspective, it's natural for you to immediately go there because that was your last experience. That was your last experience like that, you know? And so you recall, and I hate it too. I
can only imagine what it's like for my mom, because she heard my voice last. Yeah. And then the next call was, she's dead on arrival. You need to hurry, you know? So... yeah. But
you're here, LaShawn. You're here. And we certainly pay homage to
Jacory.
We pay homage to him. Yes, we do. We remember him. And we know that he is proud of his mama. We know that.
That's all I live for, is for my kids to be proud of me.
Yes, ma'am. You definitely are doing him justice, his memory justice. You're welcome. Now, of course, like we said, breast cancer, and we all know Breast Cancer Awareness Month is in October. And so you've journeyed, you've experienced, you've had loss, and now you get this breast cancer diagnosis. When did you get that information, and what was the first thing that came to your mind?
Well, I just knew that I just knew God wasn't putting me through something else again. When I was there getting these biopsies and stuff, I just was laying there like, now I know, Lord. I know you're not giving me a breast cancer story. Like, come on. So for a long time, it took a long time for me to accept it because it didn't run in the family. It never crossed my mind. Like, I thought I had already fought my fight. So I was good, you know? Like, I went through what I had to go through. I'm living with everything from the accident. There can't be any more, but I know we can't never say never. Yeah. So I started to feel some discomfort in one of my breasts, but breast cancer didn't cross my mind. I asked around, a couple people said, well, cancer doesn't hurt, so it's definitely not cancer. And I'm like, okay, cool. I was opening my location. It was a bigger one. I had great things. So I'm busy. Like, okay, I don't have time for this. Until one day I took my bra off and my breast started leaking. And we all know I'm not lactating or anything. So I called my aunt, who's a nurse. I'm like, well, what's this about? She said, you need to run to the doctor. And Miss Paulette, they found, so the one, I could start to feel something. It was like the size of maybe like a number 2 pencil eraser. I felt it. It was small, but they still said it could be a cyst. It didn't have to be cancer. I'm like, cool, fine. We did the biopsies, and then they said, yep, we actually see 2. We see the one that you feel, and we see a bigger one on your chest wall that we would have never seen. So I think the small one that I could feel was my signal to go so they could find the bigger one, because they weren't even concerned about the one I could feel once they saw the one on my chest wall, because it was so deep, I wouldn't have ever been able to feel it. And I remember I was celebrating my birthday. It's November 3rd. And I was waiting on the results. And they called me November 18th and said, yes, ma'am, you do have breast cancer. I didn't know what type of breast cancer. I didn't know the stage. I didn't know any of that. I just knew, okay, let me put my boxing gloves on. Here we go.
Wow. So after you got the news, you had to process it all. Was it immediately, did you go immediately to treatment after the biopsy? Did you immediately go to treatment? And what treatment did your doctors recommend?
Thank goodness I have great friends and family in healthcare. And so when you get that news, you don't know where to start. I mean, there's so many different oncologists. There's a surgeon oncologist, a chemo. I mean, I didn't know where to begin. So thank God I have friends who could point me in the right direction of the doctors to go to. So I started with my surgeon oncologist, and he was the one able to tell me that I had stage 3 breast cancer, triple negative. I had no idea what triple negative was, and that it also spread to my lymph nodes, which was bad because the lymph nodes can help the cancer spread to other parts of your body. So that's when they said, you have an aggressive cancer and you need to hurry. You need to hurry up and get in treatment. So I got the news November 18th, and I had my port installed and was receiving my first chemo treatment Christmas Eve, December 24th.
So it was a pretty aggressive phase that you went through. Now, and because, you know, there are many out there who have not had loved ones or friends or whatever the case may be to journey through cancer. Talk to us a little bit about the port, because before I did a show on breast cancer years ago, I didn't know what that port was. I had no clue. So what is that port, and what is it for?
So with the type of chemo that they give you, sometimes they can't go, it's hard to go through your veins. And it actually, there's a chemo drug that they call the red devil that's actually red, and it's not supposed to go through your veins because it can cause a lot of problems. So the port goes actually right here in near your heart, but in the main blood vessel. So it's direct, you know, and so you can feel it. It's right above, right under your skin. And when you go to the doctor, they just kind of prick it in there, like you would take your blood sugar, you know, and that's how it's like you're walking around with an IV port where they can just plug you in. So and it makes it a lot easier for you.
Of course, yeah. It's more streamlined, if you will, for the lack of a better word, because you wouldn't want any cancer, anything to be streamlined. You just don't want it, period, you know?
And then you don't want to get stuck every week and then trying to find a vein and all that kind of stuff. Just stick me one time right here. They give you some liquid lidocaine to put over it, so you don't even feel when they plug you in, and you're just ready to go.
What did this experience teach you about yourself?
Ooh, you know what? I'm proud of myself. I am. I've had to learn how to give myself more credit than I do. I'm proud of my body, just being able to take everything that it's gone through and able to heal itself. I mean, to me, that is amazing that I put so much poison in my body trying to kill the disease. I've broken limbs and everything has mended itself back together. And I'm still very corny and I still laugh and I'm still silly. And I'm glad I'm still and I was scared when I first got the diagnosis of what I was going to lose, who I was going to turn into and what I was going to become. And I'm still a work in progress because I'm not done. I'm still I'm still in treatment. But I've really found out who is in my corner. And I found out what is more important to me. And really just trying to take a better advantage of living my life and creating the life that I want. Because now I feel like I have a second chance and I can create the kind of life that I want, not out of essential, if that makes sense.
Right, for sure. Tragedy can really show you your character. This pandemic, it really has shown the character of people, whether good, bad, or indifferent. And so we take from these tragedies and we flip them, but we have to have the desire to flip them. We have to dig deep, because sometimes that desire is fleeting. But you're digging deep, and I don't want to say that you've completed the digging because you're still in the process of getting to where it is LaShawn wants to be for herself, for her family, and for her business.
Right. Yes.
So, of course, this diagnosis and treatment caused you to put some things on hold. What did that mean for you first, when did you realize you had to put Cheesecaked on hold temporarily?
It was a really hard decision. I'm not going to lie, because Cheesecaked is an extension of my family. And that was my only income. I had sacrificed so much for it, and it wasn't a popular decision. A lot of people didn't support me on closing, but I felt that it would be better for me to gracefully bow out for a little bit and be able to come back, opposed to, I didn't know what I was going to be. I didn't know my condition. I didn't know if I would be able to work. The doctors told me you should not have a lot of stress. And owning a business is nothing but a big ball of stress. So I thought that I didn't want to lose the reputation and the momentum Cheesecake had due to staffing. I would rather gracefully bow out and then come back when I was strong.
Right.
I think that was the best decision.
And at the end of the day, you always have to do what's in the best interest of yourself. And then, of course, your business, if you have that, because, people like the novelty of things many times, but they don't understand the work and the effort that goes into that. And couple that with a life-changing illness that you're battling to win, you have to definitely do what's in your best interest.
And not only did we face the cancer, soon after that, COVID came.
That's right.
So it would have been a double whammy. And I can only imagine the amount of stress I would have been at, trying to figure things out. And I'm grateful that I've had this time off. I wish it wasn't due to cancer,
Sure.
But I'm glad I was able to sit down and reflect, for sure.
And, LaShawn, I really, I know in my heart and in my spirit, as you mentioned earlier, that things happen for a reason and they happen the way they're supposed to happen. And we don't understand it in the process. In fact, we may never understand it, but everything happens for a purpose and in its time. And I'm grateful you're here. I'm grateful you're here to tell the story. That's awesome. Yes, ma'am. Now, since Cheesecake has been on hold temporarily, I know you got a phone call. You got a huge phone call. Tell the viewers who called you.
Okay. So right after I got blessed with those Super Bowl tickets, I didn't even know that Disney owned ABC. Okay. And the producers from Good Morning America said the president of Disney is calling, asking about you. And I'm like, what? Oh my God. And she said, I think they're going to give you Disneyland tickets or something. So I'm like, okay. So they emailed me and we had a conversation. It was not about Disney tickets. They're really interested. They said that they're storytellers and they loved my story and the energy that they could feel from the Good Morning America segment, and that they would love to work with me in some form or fashion. And I believe, like I was mentioning, that, you know, they vet companies that they're interested in working with. And so during this journey, I was like, Lord, do you want me to bring Cheesecake back? Is it the reason that I got sick? What do you want me to do? I was so perplexed. I wanted to bring it back. I just didn't know if that was what I should do. You know, I've been praying. And then I got an email from one of the gentlemen at Disney and checking in, and he had been following my cancer journey as well. I had no idea. And he says, I'm his friend. He said, I'm gonna share this with you. He said, you know, Shawn, you have found a place in my heart and you live there. And I'm just happy to know you. So he said, you know, we don't have a deal on the table. There's no deal. They would like to work with me. We're talking about it, and hopefully it will come. I mean, it will be a dream come true, right? But the fact that I got the attention from some big people over at the Walt Disney Company to recognize my little business, Cheesecaked, and my story. I mean, that alone to me was my sign. Like, girl, you better get up. Yeah. They are watching and they are waiting. Get up, okay?
Yeah. We never know who's watching us.
Never
Know who's watching us. And it, you know, for some, it may not be a call from Disney. For some, it may be a woman or a man saying, your story is my life. You know, so on either end of the spectrum, it's still amazing. And
well, even in my hard days when I was going through cancer, when I needed some uplifting, because now with COVID, I had to do a lot of it by myself. Yeah. No one could come. So I would reach out to, I would go on my social media page and get so much strength and courage from people that had never met me before, but were sending me so much love and support and prayers. And that is what lifted my spirits. You know, they're like my extended family. And that's really important, really important. And it helped me through some dark days.
Yeah. You know, family doesn't necessarily have to be blood. You don't necessarily have to see them face to face, but words are powerful, whether spoken or written, you know.
And the love in the world, most people are so supportive. Most people are great people, and they're loving and they're compassionate. And I just think so many people, I've never met them, you know, but I love them. And that's so important. And it really makes a big difference.
Yeah. And to know that your life has had that impact on someone else, and they appreciate you so much that they're willing to sow into your spirit. You know, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
That's why at Cheesecaked, it was such a big, my whole thing was we're bringing joy to people. When I would train employees and stuff, I'm like, listen, we are selling joy, okay? Whether it's a cheesecake, a milkshake, a unicorn grilled cheese, we're selling joy. And that's what I need you guys to convey. And who can be upset or mad or anything when you're eating a ginormous, you know, milkshake with cheesecake?
Yeah.
So that's been my whole thing, is just, let's just spread some joy around the world. And I'm glad, because I've received joy back in so many different ways.
Yeah. And joy is joy. You can't put a price on joy. You can't buy it anywhere. You can't, you know, sell it for wholesale. It's within, you know.
We need it.
That's right. Yep. So you were talking about how Cheesecake was a family affair, or it runs in your family. So did your family, are they experts at making cheesecake? Because look, LaShawn, let me tell you this. So, and I think I told you before we went live, I have been meaning to get the cheesecake, because cheesecake is my favorite dessert.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I need it, but I still love it.
Of course. Of course.
So I'm so interested to know what's the evolution of this business?
That is so funny. So I just honestly, there was no cheesecake connoisseur in the family.
Really?
But I was always the dessert one. So when we have Thanksgiving and different occasions, I was always like, well, what dessert are we going to have? That was my thing. So what happened, a grandmother of mine, extended family, she was also a baker and she saw my interest in baking. And when she passed away, she left me all of her recipes. And when I tell you, they're on like brittle brown paper. I had to put them in sheet protectors because if I Xerox them, it's going to turn black. It's like it was written on Jesus paper. Okay.
Wow.
So I have always loved cheesecake too. And it was around the time that the cupcake boom was really happening. And I never wanted to be a follower, but I saw that a cupcake company made it to the New York Stock Exchange. And I said, well, you know, when you think about cheesecake, the only thing you really think about is Cheesecake Factory, which is great. I mean, they have a great product, but it's also 1,200 calories per slice and up to $10 per slice. And I thought, well, why can't we have a smaller personal size, just like they do with cupcakes, but with cheesecake? And here we are.
Wow. Wow. What's your most purchased product on the menu?
The Oh My Goodness cheesecake. And so let me tell you, we're very corny with our names. Okay. We have some very fun names. My cousin is my creative director. She comes up with all the like when I had to do Strahan and Sarah, we had to come up with a shake of what Michael Strahan and what Sarah liked, right? Uh-huh. She was pregnant at the time. So we had to combine two different worlds together. Uh-huh. And my cousin came up with, oh my gosh, what do we call it? We called it, now I forgot. But all of the names of my shakes come from my company. We have like, What's Poppin' Honey Bun. That was Strahan and Sarah. Yeah. Uh-huh. And then we have, Oh My Goodness, milkshake. We have Thou Shall Not Sin, ... a bun. So she helped me come up with these amazing shakes and these names. And I've named them after family members and kids. And yeah, it's just fun.
Did you ever think you'd be on national television?
No. Oh my gosh. No. Uh-huh. I got excited when I started getting invited to do the local news stuff. Mm-hmm. That was always really fun. And I was like, okay, you know. And it's funny because every now and then on some different reality shows out here in Atlanta, you would see my cheesecakes and I would screenshot that one segment and circle my cheesecake like, look, we made it.
Yes.
We made it on TV. And so now when I can't even imagine it. I'm so honored and humbled by it. I can't even tell you.
Yeah.
And the Good Morning America thing, that one, they really tricked me with that one. I didn't see that one coming. I didn't even have a chance to tell my family that I was going to be on TV that day. Really? We were just gathering B-roll, and I'm like, okay, you know, I'll have a nice viewing party, you know, when they told me the air date. And then they go, we're live. And I'm like, oh.
Well, look, how did that come about? How did that connection come about? Were they following you in your story?
So it started with the story, yes. And the Super Bowl was here. Mm-hmm. And it was the LA Rams, and I'm from Los Angeles. So we were doing a big Super Bowl tribute at the bakery. Like I had Ram stuff, you know, balloons. I'm cheering for my team. Like they made it. I had no idea this was coming. So they called. They didn't tell me they were Good Morning America at first.
Mm-hmm. See, that's how they get you.
That's how they get you. And she was like, we're just doing a story on some very, you know, some influential people in Atlanta, and we want you to be a part of it. Okay. You know, everything they said, okay. And so eventually I got, they put you through a series of interviews where you have to talk to people, different levels of producers. Mm-hmm. And so when I made it to the top, she goes, "Hello, this is Gianna from Good Morning America." And I'm like, I'm by myself. I'm pacing the floor, like I'm on the phone with Good Morning America. So, but they still were lying. They still were telling me, "Yeah, we're putting a piece together. We're gonna catch some B-rolls, and we'll air it, in 2 weeks." I'm like, okay. All that they were filming me the whole time live. I had no idea. God. And I kept saying, "Gosh, I wish my kids were here to see. This is so cool." Mm-hmm. And when they opened the curtain, my kids were at the end of the Soul Train.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
My kids were in on it, and because I had to leave at like 5 a.m. one day to go film with them at the bakery. As soon as I left, they had sent a car to pick up my kids. So I'm like, wow, I didn't get to know any of that part. So as soon as we cut, I had to hurry up and call I'm sweating. My heart, I'm like, I can't. I wanted to fall out and do the ugly girl cry on my knee. Mm-hmm. And the guy, he was like, "Just stay with me, sister. Just stay with me. Hold me up." I'm like, get ready to lose it. I had to hurry up and call my mom. Good morning. That was the best. That was the best moment. I couldn't even believe that they had went through all that for me. Wow. And then it goes to the Super Bowl. I mean,
that's a dream come true. But LaShawn, right. You know what I know to be true just by talking to you tonight and feeling of your spirit. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. This is the prequel. I think that's right. This is the preview. No, it's the preview of what's to come. And I know that when we are given trials, it's because we are trusted. And so you've been trusted with this. You've been entrusted with this. And because you come out with joy, because people can go through these trying situations and they come out and joy is not even, in their framework. But you've come out with joy and you're going through with joy. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. I believe that.
I received that. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Now tell me, and this can either be, Rob, before I get to that question, Robin said this is a great testimony and great names for your creations at the shop.
Thank you.
Erica said she loves your story, and Christine said a great interview with LaShawn Brown. That's your mom, Christine Bernard. Hello, Mom. Mama, your daughter is amazing. She's amazing. She really is. So whether good or bad, what's been the most memorable breast cancer experience? And that doesn't really sound right, but what's been the best? What's been the most memorable experience during your journey with breast cancer, and what's been your most memorable experience with Cheesecaked prior to the breakthrough that's about to come?
Okay, so with breast cancer, I want to say that, and everybody probably can attest that God has a sense of humor. He's kind of funny, okay? Because on my very last chemo day, guess what holiday it was?
What?
National Superhero Day. So guess what? Me being the corny, funny person I am, I had to wear a cape to chemo.
I saw that picture.
I bought capes and superhero candy for everyone in the camp. I know those people were in there looking at me like, what is going on? And I told everyone, because I got to ring the bell that day, that they had to participate in our national, because I felt at that moment after finishing all of my chemo, I have some wings back here. You can't see them, but they're there. And so that was just the perfect segue to end chemo. Wow. National Superhero Day, will celebrate that forever,
Yeah, for sure.
And with my most memorable moment with there's so many, Miss Paulette, because I have met some phenomenal people. Like, I mean, just it's small, because here's the thing, Atlanta is full of choices, right? Mm-hmm. We are a big place of fun, food, and things to do. So when I would see a party van pull up in front of the bakery with 18 kids in it celebrating a sweet 16, I mean, I was overwhelmed at the moment, but I'm like, okay, I can only appreciate anyone coming to celebrate such a special moment with me, because I took it very personal, and I knew that everyone had a choice, and to come to Cheesecake, that was my biggest joy. Just seeing everyone so happy. I mean, it's just a place of joy. So I can't pin it down besides Good Morning America. I can't pin it down to one, because over the years, I've just met some of the most phenomenal people, and I'm just so grateful that they would even acknowledge Cheesecake and want to share special moments there. I mean, we've had people ask, can you make me I want to ask this girl to prom. Can you make a special shake? So I'm going to ask her to prom, so we've been involved in some very special moments for people, and it touches my heart. It just does.
Yeah. You are part of.
One last thing.
Yeah.
Someone sent me a message and said his wife passed away, and on the obituary, they used a picture of her at Cheesecake.
Oh, wow.
Because it brought so much joy to her. And so that really touched my heart, because that meant that her being at Cheesecake was big and meant a lot, and probably showed such a happy, side of her. That one touched my soul deep.
Wow. You are literally a part of the tapestry of people's lives, and people remember the first time they had a whimsical milkshake. I've never had a whimsical milkshake, so I couldn't even tell you what it was like. But for people who have enjoyed breaking bread or sipping the shakes or eating a piece of cake, there's a memory that's been planted there. Yes. And that's awesome. That's awesome. Yes. What would you tell your mom? She's watching.
Oh, gosh.
What would you tell Mama?
My mom, unfortunately, has got to go through a lot of things with me. She's had to tell me that my son passed away. She got the call that we need a picture of her face to put her face back together. And then she got the call about breast cancer. I can only imagine how heavy that must be for any parent and my mom to go through. But she's been such a champion and right by my side every step of the way, every phone call, we have to have very inappropriate conversations sometimes about what my body is doing. So as a mom, she's had to take so much of it. And unfortunately, I have I do have two other sisters, but what I'm saying is I've really monopolized a lot of my mom's attention because I've needed so much of her. And I appreciate her so much being there for me. I mean, I couldn't imagine going through it without her.
Yeah. Moms are special angels on earth. They truly are. So Mama, you too are a warrior. You
Absolutely.
too.
I ask her a lot, like, are you journaling your journey? Because there's a lot of moms that may be going through this and you've been through a lot. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And speaking of that, other people going through this, what would you tell a woman who just received a breast cancer diagnosis? Because like yourself, it was unexpected news. You now have to reevaluate your life literally and how you're going to move forward. So a lot of emotions go into that diagnosis. What would you tell a woman out in the viewing audience?
I don't want to sugarcoat anything and make it seem like, it's easy. What I would suggest is that you just take it one step at a time. Get your port installed. Do everything that you have to do, but try not to think too far in the future. I noticed that I did a lot of reading. We all want to know way too much, right? And so there's so much stuff on the internet. You're thinking, oh my God, so it's going to metastasize to my brain. You just start thinking of so many things. And I think, like you mentioned, God puts us through these things for a reason, right? And so I feel like when we're going through this, he's trusting in us to be able to share that we got through it, right? And even the women that didn't get through it, there's still a testimony there that they have fought and they went through it. And I don't want anyone to feel like it's a death sentence, because it's not. We all, unfortunately, will die one day, but this doesn't have to be the way that we die. And I think sitting down and really reflecting what's important, there's a reason there, and just take it each step at a time. Knock out chemo, knock out radiation, just 1-2 punch. I got this.
Yeah. Good advice. Good, strong advice. And ladies and men, because of course men are impacted by breast cancer too. It's not as many, but you know what? It only takes one. It only takes one, and that's huge. It's not the end. You can still live life on purpose and have a full life.
Speaking of men as well, because when I was going through this process, they genetically tested me, right? Mm-hmm. And because it didn't run in the family, so we found out that I actually carry a gene for breast cancer and colon cancer. So that was scary. And it usually comes from your maternal side, but my mom got tested and she didn't carry it. So I had to have gotten it from my father's side, which is also very rare. But what that led me to do was to test my children, because I feel if I had known I carried the gene 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago, I could have had enough knowledge to know, hey, Sean, you have a higher chance of getting these. You need to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to prevent it. I mean, I'm not Jesus, of course, but to have the knowledge to get a mammogram, get an ultrasound, if you know that you have a higher percentage. So they won't test my son because he's not 18 yet, but I will. Because like you said, men can get breast cancer and of course colon cancer. But my both daughters were tested and they carry the breast cancer gene. And that was such a hard blow because I kind of felt guilty. I felt like I gave it to them. They are true champions. They have been like, Mom, we're just glad we know so that we can, be prepared. And I'm grateful that they saw what I went through and now can use that as leverage to learn and do better for themselves.
Exactly. Last week, I think it was last week, we talked with survivors and a breast cancer surgeon specialist, and we were talking a little bit about the gene testing.
Okay.
So you asked your doctor, you made this request of your doctor, he then put the order in, I guess. How did that work? Because there are some people out there, myself included, I'd be very interested about what that process is like so I can do it for myself and for my family.
It's interesting because, to be 100% honest, they don't offer it to you unless someone is diagnosed with cancer. And I think that's unfortunate. So through this journey, I have decided I would like for more of African-American women and people, period, to get genetically tested and to find out why it's not offered up front. Why does someone have to have a diagnosis of cancer to be tested? It's a saliva test. It doesn't hurt. It's like Ancestry.com. You send some saliva in, they test it, there's no pain, and then And I think it would save money, because I would imagine that this cancer journey is at least $500,000, okay, with all the surgeries and scans and So to get a saliva test to kind of know, to get a heads up on thing, I think it would save a ton of money. I don't understand why it's not offered.
Well, I have my theories, but that's another show. But I'm glad you now have equipped your daughters with information. Knowledge is power, but it's not power if you don't use it. So they're going to use this information to govern their lives, and that's amazing. That's amazing.
So I'm putting together a nonprofit, and I'm going to try and host events to encourage people to get genetically tested. It doesn't hurt. And if we can get our insurance companies to pay for it, or maybe I can get some to sponsor some, or even at a reduced price, I think that it is necessary. I can't imagine if I had known I carried this gene around, how different things could have been for me. I shouldn't have had to go through all of this,
Yeah. And while breast cancer impacts all women, it disproportionately impacts Black women. And there are many in our community that don't have the access, so
Right.
this foundation and your strides to do this would be life-changing. It would be
And a lot of people, it's interesting, like you mentioned, they don't even know that it's out there that you can do it. I don't know if they think that it hurts or they just have never heard. But back to your question, the doctors offered it to me. They offered it, but only because I had been diagnosed.
My goodness. Yeah, we've come a long way in the medical industry, but there's still much more that we have to do. Because when it comes to saving people's lives, you need to give them options. And if genetic testing is an option, God, like you said, the amount of money and stress and turmoil that people have to go through when they get this type of information, this type of news, could be prevented or at least lessened. LaShawn, let's see. Let me look at my questions to make sure.
Okay.
Final question. What's your long-term vision for Cheesecaked?
Franchises.
Yes.
Across the country.
Yes.
That is so I want Cheesecake to be a whimsical, fun location for people to celebrate things of all things. And we have birthdays, anniversaries, engagements, everything. I just want it to be a place of joy. And I think every state needs one. And we need something we can go to and just have a good time. It's not kiddie like, a Chuck E. Cheese. It's still elegant, but it's still friendly and fun.
Yeah. And that's what the world needs. They need fun and they need joy.
Absolutely.
Joy makes you a much better person. It really does.
Right. It makes us glow better, It makes our skin look good,
Well, LaShawn, you have brought me so much joy tonight. And I'm just so grateful to have learned more about you and learned more about your journey. And as I said, I know the sky isn't the limit. It's just the destination, because there's so much more beyond that. So much more beyond that. When you post about your grand reopening, I'm going to come, because I want a piece of cheesecake.
Okay.
And I want a grilled cheese. Okay. And look, LaShawn, you got to take all the calories out. Can you do that?
We don't talk calories. We don't say that word, okay? You don't come to Cheesecake on a diet, okay? But I'm going to offer some vegan options for my vegan lovers. I do understand, and I definitely, we had some gluten-free, but I still don't want to hear you asking me about any calories. This is the wrong place for me. Okay? If you're counting yeah. We just hear calorie. What do you mean? No, what is that? Cream? You mean cream? Oh, okay. Yeah, we have a lot of that.
Oh, goodness. LaShawn, it's been a joy. It has been a joy. And two, let me know when you do your grand reopening. I'd love to have you back if you've created a new menu or
absolutely. Whatever the case. It will be an event, Miss Paulette. You'll definitely be there.
Well, I sure will, with bells on and a fork.
Okay.
And a straw.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's been,
and I hope that anything that I've said, if anyone's going through cancer out there or have been through tragedies, I hope any of my words can help lift them up today, because that is why I am here. And whatever I had to go through to save a couple lives, I am here for it. So I hope that I've reached someone in your audience and gave them some joy today.
Yeah. A servant's heart is what you have, and I'm sure at least one person, if not many, most. Thank you, LaShawn. Thank you. Stay right there. And you guys, thank you for joining me tonight. And please come back next Saturday, same time, same location, for Serving Happiness, one bowl at a time. Now, it's not a story of breast cancer survivalship, but it is a story of determination, courage, and resilience nonetheless. It's going to be exciting. We're talking about ice cream cheesecake tonight, and we'll be talking about something else sweet and whimsical next weekend. So be sure to tune in. Again, share this page, and we'll see you next Saturday. In the meantime, throughout your week, show a little kindness, extend a little grace, and be gentle with yourself. All right. Good night, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.